So I'm the social media person. You're the website person.
Mm-hmm.
How do you feel people should balance this out?
Well, I'm going to go back to what you said, and it's what we always say you start with your website first. What is SEO for social media, and why is it becoming important for platforms like TikTok and Instagram?
Because the younger kids, they are not searching Google like we search Google. People are still searching Google. But if you're trying to reach anybody under the age of 30, they are finding things out via TikTok and Instagram.
So, how are they searching? I don't get it.
They're opening their phone up. They're going to the little, like, the little magnifying glass, and they're putting in keywords and they are gathering information that way. The other thing that's happening is nobody's really watching television anymore. And so they're kind of using it like we used to use and still use YouTube. So they're using it as a way to learn things. And so the whole thing behind this is they like Instagram, TikTok, preferably. Most of them like TikTok preferably over Instagram. But what the younger kids are doing is they're going to these platforms and searching like they would Google and searching like they would YouTube and watching. And they're more visual learners as well.
So, instead of immediately doing a Google search, they're saying, what are people saying about this topic on social?
Yeah. And I'm on a GLP-1 medication. And so it blew up because of TikTok, and there wasn't a lot of information on the web about it. So TikTok was a great place to learn and ask questions and see the real life unfolding of what's happening with somebody taking these medications. A brand can come right in and figure out what are the problems, what are the solutions, and posting those kind of like FAQ type things on TikTok and Instagram. However, when it comes to that, people don't like the polished, the perfect, the branded, and it's more that FaceTime call. So I'm kind of veering away from the topic, but basically people they're just searching on there.
So it seems like, and of course I'm jumping ahead to who needs to know this right now. It would seem like one category that you mentioned, like a new to market, maybe heavily regulated, but a lot of people are using it type of product. Something new that you're offering, like if you were a healthcare provider and you're offering a new service, but there's not a lot of information on your website about it yet. Optimizing your content using SEO for social seems like that's where I would be spending some time.
Yeah. So it used to be that video wasn't a predominant part of your marketing plan. And we hear this time over time. Why are your prices expensive? Why are your prices expensive? It's because we've had to add a must have of video into everyone's social media. And frankly, if somebody goes and gets a proposal from a social media company and they aren't proposing they need to do video, red flag.
Yeah, huge. So, one thing about Google and SEO is that it's been around long enough. We know enough about what Google likes. There's sort of some like standards that are common SEO practices. Do we know what social platforms like? How are we supposed to go about optimizing our content for SEO on social? Is it the same as Google? Is it different?
So a lot of times I'll tell people just to start with what your Google keywords are and get a feel to being consistent with your videos. However, TikTok and Instagram and YouTube even has this feature too, where you can go put in your keywords in the search bar and it will kind of show you what people are searching for. Now, it's not ranking it or anything, but it's kind of giving you a clue as to what you should go and put in your videos. So, for example, I was searching for, on the side, I have Hey Shannon Lee, which does lifestyle content focused around capsule wardrobing. So I went and put in capsule wardrobing in both Instagram, TikTok, and Google, and all gave different results. I will tell you that most of the time, Instagram is like a week or two behind over TikTok. So I defer to what's going on TikTok versus what's going on Instagram. And sometimes it's different on YouTube. Basically, the secret sauce is start with what Google is telling you to use for your keywords. And then once you get consistent with it, use the search bar at Instagram and TikTok to kind of tell you as well and put your keyword in. So I'll use capsule wardrobing as an example, put capsule wardrobing in, and it will say mid-size capsule wardrobing. It will say fall capsule wardrobing. If there's a certain piece of clothing in that capsule, put the piece of clothing in. It will tell you cute outfits with vests and things like that. So that's a good way to start. But a lot of times I'll tell folks, just start with what your Google keywords are. And then when you get consistent with things, then we go into using the search functionality.
Okay. I feel like that would give a lot of good ideas for future content too.
Yes, and that's exactly the other thing. Like, what content am I missing? I feel Pinterest does that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So when business owners get into looking at their SEO, a lot of times they'll incorrectly assign keywords to themselves, or they'll put things in the wrong places in the back end of their website. What are some mistakes that we might run into with social SEO?
Not knowing the research, number one. So if you don't know where your Google keywords are, go find out what that is, or use the search functionality inside the apps. Another thing is there, and we're going to get more into this later down the road, but they are not using like in-app tools.
Oh, tell me more about that.
So they're using a video editor outside of Instagram and TikTok to edit the thing, and they're putting in all these branding, like they're throwing in their logo, they're throwing in their brand colors, and really what we're finding is both platforms can understand what you're saying, read the caption below, read the caption like the copy, and they're also reading what you're putting on the video, what you're saying in the video, and what you're putting in the copy of the video to kind of simplify that down. So you want to say your keywords in all those.
Okay.
So they might go in another editor and edit it and put fancy captions that are branded, and they might put fancy titles using their fancy font. Really just using the in-app tools on Instagram and TikTok is how Instagram and TikTok are going to categorize your video.
Yeah, that makes sense. They can't read those other things that are brought in from another editor.
Yeah. Say it and type it is really the thing. Say it in your video and type it on screen and in your copy.
Okay. Are there any other mistakes that we need to watch out?
I feel like that's where you should just start at. Keyword stuffing you could totally keyword stuff, not saying you should do that. And I've seen people do that. But just like using the in-app tools is going to be how you're going to get found.
Okay. Right. I feel like hashtags is going to come up as a question. Is that part of the keyword stuffing that you're talking about?
When it comes to hashtags, you can still use them. Just don't use 30. I would say try to stick to the 3 to 5. We tell people, in fact, my stuff gets found without hashtags.
Because of that SEO that they are adding in. So it's still what you're saying and what's in your captions.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, totally.
What are some tips to make our profiles easily searchable and readily found?
That's a really good question. And I feel like TikTok does this better than Instagram, because if you have a verified profile, the searchable part of the profile has to be your name. So it's almost a disadvantage to have the verified profile and paying for that. Your name on TikTok, not your handle name, but the area where you're announcing yourself. If you put in your keywords there, if you're a skincare brand that caters to, over 50, skincare made for over 50, something like that, people are searching skincare over 50 and your profile may come up. You also want to use the similar keywords in your bio, but you don't want to stuff it. You want to be creative with it. So in Instagram and TikTok, there are headers that you can change, make those searchable for sure. And then make your, the bios searchable as well and use those keywords. And I find a lot of people try to make that pretty. Nobody's looking at your profile. People are searching and finding your profiles that way.
I feel like that might be a little bit of a balance between having search terms in there and not just, but yet keeping it a little bit interesting. Yeah. Is that where people need to?
For example, on Hey Shannon Lee on TikTok, it says UGC over 50 UGC creator. I'm 6 months from being 50. I just decided just to change it. I used to say Gen X creator, but I changed it to over 50 creator, and I feel like I'm getting more and more leads for UGC work that way.
Yeah, it seems like over 50 would be a search term.
Yeah, and I just recently changed that, and you can tell because people will email you over 50 content creator instead of your name. It's really weird. It's like they scraped it from somewhere.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm the social media person. You're the website person. How do you feel people should balance this out?
Well, I'm going to go back to what you said, and it's what we always say, you start with your website first. And people might think that that's surprising because we're a social media company. However, if your SEO on your website is not clean and correct, then your efforts on social are kind of going to waste. I feel like you're missing out on people who are searching Google and who are going to find you other ways. So it's really important to start with your website because that is really your bread and butter platform, so to speak. Everyone's going to go to your website to look at you for what is your authority, what is your trust, and as they follow you on social through these other social media ways, your website will keep getting more and more traffic, and all of that combined effort keeps that authority score high in Google's eyes. So for somebody who's new, all of this might be a little bit overwhelming. Maybe they know something about SEO, but not for social, and they're not really sure where to start. What are some tips for starting with SEO for social and how to really streamline this process?
My number one thing is just know your keywords and just spend like a few weeks integrating them into what you say, integrating them on screen. Make sure you turn the captions on because the in-app captions on because TikTok and Instagram are definitely going to pick up on that. The other thing that I would say is just practice, practice, and don't look at the stuff. Just get used to doing it this way and then kind of take the next step forward in maybe looking and seeing what's happening on TikTok, what's happening on Google, what's happening or YouTube, what's happening on Instagram, and then go from there. We're going to have a training coming up. It's the link in bio if you want to sign up for it. And we're going to dive way deep into this and you'll walk away with learning and steps how to do it.
And we're going to have a checklist, so you'll know exactly step by step how to go about this. If you want to hear more about SEO for social or come to our workshop, join our email list at dashcontentco.com.